Yo, what's going on, Sixer Nation? DFJ Hoops here, back again with another live stream. And we got a great show for y'all today. We're going to talk about the Sixers offseason, the rumors surrounding Quentin Grimes and why he is still not signed yet as of right now. And then also, we're going to talk about Tyrese Maxey, a post that he posted on Twitter or social media or whatever, addressing the haters, addressing the critics. We're gonna talk about all of that. Primarily, specifically, Sixer fans. So that's the agenda for today. So that's what we're gonna talk about. But appreciate y'all for tuning in. Salute to my guy One Mike in the building. Always showing love and support. Appreciate you, bro. Says salute. You gotta give me a wrench. I'm always in the chat. First always. Yeah, appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. I'm gonna definitely give you a wrench, bro. But I'm gonna probably do it at the end of the show. That's when I'm gonna do it. But as of right now, we got business to take care of. So that's what is gonna have to happen. But just to start, let me just say this. So the Clippers just signed Chris Paul, which I think is the worst signing in the offseason, right? That's the worst signing they could have ever. They made some good moves. I think Bradley Beal, that was a good move. Brooke Lopez was, it was mid, it was okay. But this Chris Paul move right here, that's probably the worst. That's probably the worst signing that they could have ever made. But let me not get off track. Let me not get off topic. Let's just talk about this. So Quentin Grimes, as of right now, is still a restricted free agent. Now he's not an unrestricted free agent. He's a restricted, meaning that the Sixers still have his rights, and the only way he can get to another team is if he signs an offer sheet with them, and the Sixers decide not to match it. Right now, me personally, I really believe in Quentin Grimes. Like at first, I didn't really have any faith in him because I didn't think he was that caliber of player. But when he got on the team and did what he did, I was like, okay, this guy's really he's really impressing me, right? At first I thought he was just a hustle guy, a dirty work guy, but I didn't know he had the ability to do even more if you gave him the opportunity to, right? He got on the Sixers. Now the Sixers were a losing team, right? Got on the Sixers. They had a lot of players missing. The Sixers had a record of 34, 33 players playing for them last year. I could be wrong, but that's not the point. The point is that he's capable of doing more. And when he got on the team, when he got traded for Caleb Martin, he was showing us what he's capable of doing offensively, right? The ball handling skills, he had a deeper bag than what I expected of him, right? He could break defenders down off the dribble, get to his spots, show a wide variety of offensive moves that people didn't really see from him when he was playing in Detroit or when he was playing in New York or even with the Dallas Mavericks. But he got on the team. He was doing all those things, doing great things. But, I mean, the Sixers were still losing, so it just didn't matter. But he was still getting to his numbers. The production was looking very, very well. I think he had a stretch where he was putting up 25 or more for like 10 straight games, right? So that's what he was doing. So that was his production as far as what he was doing with the Sixers, right? That was the production. And I think he ended up averaging 23 or 24 points with the Sixers. I could be wrong. I'm not looking at the numbers right now. But if anybody watching could pull up the numbers for me and y'all can tell me. But I think he was averaging 23 or 24, right? That's what he was doing with the Sixers. Now, as of right now, he's the only. Now, there's a couple restricted free agents on the market. I think as of right now, you got Jonathan Kuminga, you got Josh Giddey, and also you got Brooklyn Nets' Cam Thomas. So those are the restricted free agents, which they probably have bigger names than a Quentin Grimes, or maybe Quentin Grimes is better than Josh Giddey. But point is that those guys are also on the market. So we're still waiting for teams to sign them, right? We're waiting for teams to give them the offer sheet, and Quentin Grimes is one of the players. Now my question is, why have the Sixers not re-signed Quentin Grimes? Because for what he did, even though it was a small sample size, but what he was able to do with this team, right? What he was able to show you and what he was capable of doing, I think any serious team will try as much as possible to, lock him into a contract and have him on their team. Because when I look at Quentin Grimes, I think Quentin Grimes should be the Sixers starting two guard for next season. Now I love VJ Edgecombe. I think VJ is going to be good in the future, But I think I think as of right now, his role should be coming off the bench. Now, even though I'm a new school type of dude, like I'm of the new generation or whatever in terms of basketball, but I still sometimes have the old school mentality, which is I want you to show me, I want you to prove to me that you deserve this spot before I give it to you. And I think Nick Nurse, I think like how Nick Nurse thinks. Now, Nick Nurse sometimes goes a little bit overboard with it, right? We saw that last year where Jared McCain had proved himself, and he was still playing Kyle Lowry. He didn't really give Jared McCain. It took a while for Jared McCain to fully earn his trust. I think that game against the Charlotte Hornets, where Jared McCain absolutely balled out and also helped the Sixers close out that game. Which you had Paul George, you had Tyrese Maxey, but I felt like Jared McCain was the one who was closing games, right? So to me, he proved that you could trust him and you can give him like quality minutes, whether it's coming off the bench or whether he's starting, right? But I mean, Nick, the point that I'm trying to make here is that I have the same mentality as Nick Nurse, but Nick Nurse just goes a little bit overboard with it, right? I still believe that in order for players to play, like they have to prove that they deserve the spot. So that's why I'm not really saying that VJ should be the starting two guard, right? I want him to come off the bench and prove to me that he absolutely deserves it before I give it to him. So I still look at Quentin Grimes as the starting two guard for the Sixers next season, right? Now, that is if he resigns with the team. But I'm expecting the Sixers to resign him. But the question is, why are the Sixers taking so much time? Now, we know that both parties have to come to terms and decide on a very good contract before it materializes, right? So we get it. But I think the Sixers should have done this they should have done this a long time ago and not wait till this long to, decide on something. But I think from Quentin Grimes and his, representation, I mean, for the numbers that he put up, you would want to get paid off of that, right? For the numbers that he put up, not everybody was putting up those numbers. I think there was a stat sometime last season after the All-Star break that Quentin Grimes was ranked. He ranked like top 5 in scoring after the All-Star break, not the whole season, but after the All-Star break. So that showed you he was being productive. He was doing what he was supposed to do. Now, yeah, the wins wasn't there, but from a production standpoint, he was doing his thing. But I think as of right now, Quentin Grimes doesn't really have a lot of leverage because for number one, the Sixers have drafted VJ Edgecombe. Now, even though I still believe that he should come off the bench, maybe the Sixers have a different plan. Maybe the Sixers have a different mentality. Maybe they have a different idea. Maybe they're not valuing Quentin Grimes to the level that I think they should value him at. Maybe they're looking at it as we already have somebody who could potentially be the starting two guard, so we're not going to really focus on you or make you the highest priority. Or they're also looking at it from the standpoint of view as we can potentially be championship contenders next year. So we don't want to throw the bag at you right now because you're not going to be the first option. You're not going to be the second option. You're not even going to be the third option. At best, you're going to be the fourth. Now, on any given night, he could be a second or third, maybe even the first. But ideally, we're looking at you as the fourth option. So maybe that's another reason why the Sixers are not prioritizing Quentin Grimes as of right now. But I think he should definitely be a high priority because players like that could potentially be two-way players. From the guard position, you don't really get that enough, right? You don't really see a lot of two-way guards in the NBA as much, like guys that could give you very, very good offensive production and also do it on the defensive side of the floor. And I think that's something that, Maxey really needs. That's something that Jared McCain needs, right? That defensive guy who could also give you some quality offense. Now, as of right now, I think Quentin Grimes has only a few options, right? A few options because he doesn't really have a lot of leverage with the Sixers. But I'm gonna go over every option that he has right now, and then we're gonna talk about everything. And please, if you just came in, please make sure you smash that like button for me. Yeah, smash that like button. There's a Sixer channel. If you're not sub to the channel, you can also subscribe to the channel. But I think he has a few options, and one of the few options that he has is to number one re-sign with the Sixers. Now, yeah, like I said earlier, it's not as easy as it sounds. In order for this to happen, both teams have to, come to terms, come to an agreement, and then make this materialize. But from rumors and from multiple reports, Quentin Grimes and his representation are looking for an upward of 25 million or more for a long term as his starting salary. Now, the Sixers, as of right now, are not in that position to offer him that contract. And the reason why is that, for number one, they have three max players on the team, right? You got Joel Embiid, you got Paul George, and then you got Tyrese Maxey. Now, Joel Embiid and Paul George alone, those two players are making 50 million or more, right? Those two players are eating your salary cap. So that puts you in a very, very difficult situation or a tough spot to re-sign Quentin Grimes. So that's why him looking for 25 million is not really, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's not realistic, right? Because the Sixers are not in that position to offer him that contract. Now, I think the Sixers could waive Ricky Council the fourth to make room, even though they're not going to make any big room because he's only making like 2 million, 2.5 million. It's not that huge, but speaking of Ricky Council, let me just briefly talk about this, right? Now, I'm not going to divert from the main point that I'm making, but I just want to say this real quick. I think the NBA moves on from players very, very fast because I remember last season or last two seasons, the 23-24 season, in the playoffs, there were Sixer fans saying that Nick Nurse should start Ricky Council the fourth, right? Fans really believed that Ricky Council could do something in the Knicks series, right? Because Nick Nurse was only playing Kyle Lowry, and Kyle Lowry was not giving you, he wasn't really giving you too much. But Ricky Council was the next big young player with the Sixers, right? And people had a ton of expectations from him heading into the second season. Now, unfortunately, he didn't really have a good sophomore season, so he has kind of become an afterthought. And then also the Sixers just drafted Jared McCain, and then this offseason they just drafted VJ Edgecombe. So it seems like Ricky Council right now is an afterthought. And that's how fast the NBA moves. Like if you're not doing anything significant, if you're not really producing at a high level, you're going to be forgotten very, very quickly. And the same thing goes to the Miami Heat and Jaime Jaquez Jr., right? Jaime Jaquez he was hooping in the 23-24 season. At some point, he was in the Rookie of the Year conversations, right? I think he was behind Chet and Wemby, but a season or two, he's an afterthought. Nobody's even talking about Jaime Jaquez. That's how fast the NBA moves. So, Ricky Council, it's very, very sad that this is happening to him, where he could potentially get cut because his contract is not guaranteed. So I don't really want Ricky Council to get cut, but I brought up his name and I wanted to talk about this briefly. But I definitely don't want him to get cut. But if it comes to a situation where the Sixers have to cut him in order to make a little bit more room to re-sign Quentin Grimes, I think the Sixers should go for the move. They should pull the trigger, right? Because you're getting better. Quentin Grimes is a vet player. He's more experienced, better shooter, better offensive player. Not as athletic as Ricky Council, but he's way better defensively, right? And Ricky Council cannot be your starting two guard, right? So that's the reason why I would say the Sixers would have to cut him. But in order for that to happen, the Quentin Grimes and his representation, they'll also have to agree to the terms and conditions of the contract that the Sixers want to give him, because he's not going to be a first, second, or third option. So they're going to have to pay him. They're going to have to pay him fourth option type money, and that's something that his representation is not looking for right now. So yeah, that's an option that he could go with, right? That's a direction he can go in. Another direction where he could potentially go in is to go in the direction of a sign and trade. Now, this is something that has been discussed by Sixer fans and even people in the media, right? That he should sign an offer sheet with another team and go for the sign and trade with the other teams. Now, other teams, not many teams can really do the sign and trade as of right now. I think a few teams that could go for that is the Miami Heat, the Phoenix Suns is one of those teams, right? Because the Phoenix Suns have, as of right now, the Phoenix Suns have $30 million in cap space because they got rid of two players that were they got rid of KD and Bradley Beal, and those guys were eating a huge chunk of the salary cap. So they got rid of those two players, so they have salary, right? They have space. Yeah, they got salary cap. So the Phoenix Suns, one team. The Utah Jazz is another team. The Miami Heat is another team, and I think the Boston Celtics is another team, if I'm not mistaken. Right. So those are the teams that could um, do this, facilitate the sign and trade. But in order for that to happen, they would have to throw a certain amount of money in which the Sixers will not feel to match it in order for that sign and trade to happen. Now, teams are in a position to offer him that kind of money, but the thing is, will you be willing to give Quentin Grimes that amount of money? Considering that he's not going to be a first, second, or third option. Now, on the Utah Jazz, it might be a little bit different, right? It might be a little bit different because the Utah Jazz is not trying to win. So that could be different. But teams like the Boston Celtics, Boston is not going to be a championship contender next year, but I still think they're going to be a very, very good team next year, right? I believe they're going to be a very, very good team. And people might be sleeping on them because Jason Tatum is injured right now, but I think Boston is going to be a very, very good team next year. But if you're a Boston, would you be willing to give him that amount of money that he's looking for, 25 or more for a long term? I don't think any team would be willing to throw that amount of money in front of him, right? So that's where the sign and trade becomes a little bit difficult because not too many people are willing to do it. Hell, Jonathan Kuminga has not even been signed by a team yet. So, and I think he's probably a bigger asset in terms of players that are restricted free agents in this offseason than any other player, right? So if he hasn't signed to a team yet, then Quentin Grimes, might have to wait a little bit more, right? So the sign and trade is a little bit unlikely, but hey, who knows? Maybe a team might be willing to throw him that money, and he will absolutely sign for it if they give him the 25 or more for a long term deal, right? He's looking for 3 or more years, right? Another option or another direction that Quentin Grimes can go into is to accept or sign the Sixers qualifying offer for 1 year and then become a free agent the next season. Now, that's where it gets a little bit tricky because if you have been following the NBA for quite some time, right? There's been few players that betted on themselves and it either failed, it either backfired on them, or it was successful for them, right? Now, if you want to look at the failures, I think two players that come to mind as of right now is Montrezl Harrell and Dennis Schroeder. Now we all know Dennis Schroeder, right? The Lakers try to give him 84 million as an extension in the 2020-2021 season. He rejected the offer, and then guess what? He had to sign vet minimums with different teams, the Boston Celtics, the Houston Rockets, and it was a whole mess, right? Because he tried to bet on himself, and it just didn't work out for him. Another player is Montrezl Harrell, who could have signed a 4-year, $98 million deal with the Charlotte Hornets in the offseason of 2020, but he decided to sign the qualifying offer with the Lakers in order to guarantee himself more money the next offseason. But guess what? Unfortunately, he got on the Lakers. Things didn't really go as planned. Barely played, right? Barely got any playing time because he was playing on the Lakers team. Anthony Davis, LeBron. I think they signed Marc Gasol that offseason. They brought in a bunch of players, and he didn't really get enough playing time, right? So it backfired. He got traded to the Washington Wizards. Washington ended up trading him to the Charlotte Hornets, and it was a whole mess, right? He ended up signing with the Sixers in 2022, 23 or whatever. But the point is that he tried to bet on himself, and it was a total disaster, right? Now, in other cases, there's been players that betted on themselves and it was successful. A player that comes to mind is Tobias Harris. Now, Tobias Harris, as Sixer fans, we all know Tobias Harris, played 5.5 seasons for the team. But how did he end up on the Sixers? I think people forget about it. Yeah, he got traded. He got traded from the Clippers, but how did he get traded for to the Sixers? Right? Why did the Clippers trade him? So in the 2019 season, right, He was on the Clippers. He was hooping. He was balling for the Clippers. He was averaging 20 and 8 for the Clippers, right? They threw an extension in front of him. And guess what? He declined, right? He declined the extension and he betted on himself in order to get more money that offseason, because that offseason he was going to be an unrestricted free agent. So he bet on himself to get more money. And guess what? The Clippers, knowing that he was going to leave in free agency, he ended up getting traded to the Sixers. Now, once he got traded to the Sixers, I think that was the perfect situation for him to be in. And salute to Ja in the building. Appreciate you, Ja. Um, he says, if you think about it, Kelly was also that player. Hold on. If you think about it, Kelly was also that player who signed a cheap deal to wait for the next offseason. Then the next offseason, Grimes would be stupid to wait for the next offseason. Right. Exactly. Kelly Oubre was another player, right? I mean, I don't think Kelly betted on himself. No team really wanted to sign Kelly Oubre, and then Kelly ended up having to take the vet minimum with the Sixers, and then he played very good for the Sixers, and then guess what? The Sixers ended up giving him a 2-year deal, I think 16 million or maybe 17 or maybe a little bit lower than that. But Tobias Harris, betted on himself, got on the Sixers, right? And that was a perfect situation for him because he got on the team with Jimmy Butler, and everybody remembers the whole thing with the Sixers and Jimmy Butler. The Sixers ended up trading Jimmy Butler. Tobias Harris is an unrestricted free agent. The Sixers could not let him walk for free. So the Sixers ended up signing him to a 5-year, $180 million deal, whatever it was, right? It was a max contract. So the case in point is that he betted on himself. Tobias Harris betted on himself, and it was successful for him. Now, if you're Quentin Grimes, would you really want to go in this direction? I mean, I don't know, because anything could happen, right? Now, God forbid, what if he takes the Sixers qualifying offer for 1 year? I think it's upwards of 8.7 million. What if he takes that deal and then guess what? Has a season-ending injury, right? That would be very sad and unfortunate, because you betted on yourself to get more money in the next offseason, and then unfortunately you have an injury. So if I'm Quentin Grimes, I'm not gonna go in that direction, because freak accidents can happen all the time. Freak accidents happen all the time, and sometimes it's just unfortunate, but they do happen, right? They do happen, and in some instances, players have been successful too. So, but it's just very very tricky, because if I have this opportunity to, if I got the opportunity to go for the bag, like I am going straight for the bag, right? I'm going for the bag, and I'm not gonna bet on myself to wait another year to sign a much to potentially sign a much bigger contract. Hell, Embiid even did the same thing, because when Embiid signed his extension, Embiid could have waited the next year, which would have been this offseason, to sign a much bigger extension. But guess what? He took the money right then and there, and that was a very very good decision that he made, because guess what? Had he not had signed that extension, he definitely would have got lowballed, because he only played 19 games, 18 games last year. Yeah, no, the Sixers they definitely wouldn't have given him that extension. So Embiid made the right decision. So I think as of right now, Quentin Grimes has to make the right decision. But Quentin Grimes has another option, a last option, which is hope for a Hail Mary. And salute to my guy Joseph in the building. Appreciate you, bro. Like, subscribe, and share. Appreciate it. He been doing his thing with the Cavs, the Browns, Cleveland. He's a Cleveland sports fan, so y'all should definitely check him out. But the last option. Oh, sorry about that, y'all. But the last option for Quentin Grimes is to hope for a Hail Mary. Now, what's a Hail Mary? Now, we just seen with what the Milwaukee Bucks just did, right? Waiving Damian Lillard and then signing Miles Turner to a 3-year or a 4-year deal, whatever that was, right? That was a Hail Mary, because who's expecting that, right? Nobody saw that coming. Nobody could have predicted that. But guess what? They did it. Now, a team that could pull off something similar. Now, it's not guaranteed that it's going to happen, but a team that could do a similar thing is the Utah Jazz. Now, the Utah Jazz could waive KJ Martin and Jaden Springer. Now, those are two former Sixer players, so in case they do, the Sixers could pick them up for even for cheap, right? For the less, for the minimum. But the point is that the Utah Jazz could do the same thing, right? To clear cap space to sign Quentin Grimes, right? But if you're the Utah Jazz, are you willing to do that? Now, the Utah Jazz have a lot of options, right? They could go for the sign and trade, like I said, or they can go the Hail Mary route, which is waive two players to make some room and then sign Quentin Grimes, right? So those are Quentin Grimes' four options that he could that he could go for. Now, according to people that I talked to in the past, or I mean the past few days, a lot of people are saying that Quentin Grimes should go for option 3, which is accept the Sixers qualifying offer, and then guess what? Hope to play better next season and have a bigger sample size of good games, and then sign a bigger deal next offseason. But it's just risky because you don't want anything to happen, because if anything goes wrong, that's your bag right there, right? Everything goes down the drain. That's why I'm saying it's tricky. But he could go for the sign and trade, but what teams would be willing to, give him that offer sheet, right? Because there are other restricted free agents out there, and nobody signed them to any contract, right? So, yeah, those are Quentin Grimes' options right there. Me personally, I don't know. I'm not gonna sit here and dictate what another man should do. I think he should do what's best for him, his career, and his family. If you want to take the Sixers qualifying offer for 8.7 and then wait for next offseason to sign a bigger contract, okay, you can go that route, right? But if you really want to win and you're willing to sacrifice everything and sign with the Sixers no matter what they give you, I think the Sixers can offer him the taxpayer mid-level exception, right? Which is upwards of 5.7 million or whatever that is. So they could give him that. But if you're Quentin Grimes, I think this is a decision that you need to come to a conclusion with your team to make the right decision, because this could be his only opportunity to get a big payday, especially for the numbers he put up. I mean, who knows? He might not get that same opportunity to put up those same numbers, right? You might not get that opportunity to put up those same numbers. So I think he should make the best decision. What is the best decision? I don't know. Now, me personally, I want him to do something that goes in the Sixers' favor, right? Because I definitely want him on this team, right? I want him on this team. I want him to be the starting two guard on this team. So yeah, I'm definitely with the Sixers, right? I'm definitely anything that benefits the Sixers. That's where I'm going. And if he wants 25 a year and the Sixers cannot offer that, then guess what? I think you might have to go a different route, different direction, whether you want to do the sign and trade or whatever. But if you do the sign and trade, you might not be in a winning situation, and that could potentially hurt your bag in the future. But I mean, Quentin Grimes is what, 24, 23, 24, 25. So I mean, he's still young, so he could have another opportunity to sign or go for a bigger contract or a bigger payday in the future, right? So you can take that gamble. But me personally, if I have the opportunity, I'm going for the bag, bro. That's what Yabu did, right? Yabu took the bag with the Knicks. Salute to him. He did what was best for his career, because the Sixers wasn't even willing to give him what he signed with the Knicks, which is the mid-level exception. So, Quentin Grimes, no word right now, and smash that like button as y'all come in. There's no word right now. There's nothing right now, but I think he should, yeah, he should do what benefits the Sixers, right? That's how I'm gonna leave it at. That's where I'm at with it. That's number one. Yeah, that's the first part, right? Quentin Grimes, that's the first part. Now, let's switch gears and let's talk about Tyrese Maxey. Now, I think over the weekend, Maxey posted something on his Twitter page. I don't have it with me exactly, but it seemed like he was going at the critics, and you can call them critics, you can call them haters, Sixer fans, you can call them whatever. Now, Maxey last season got a lot of criticism from Sixer fans, the media, even myself included, right? I criticize Maxey sometimes. Now, yeah, he did play the majority of the season without Paul George and Joel Embiid, or sometimes he had Paul George right beside him. But a lot of times that he played alone, I felt like he was being a little bit too selfish. Now, as a player, as a star caliber player, there are certain instances where you got to be selfish, right? You got to be selfish. But more times than not, Maxey was being too selfish, and he was being too selfish, and in games he was taking a lot of shots, right? A lot of shots, and I felt like had he had created for his teams, the Sixers would have had a much better outcome. Now, I'm not saying we would have made the playoffs or nothing, but we could have won a few. We could have won a few games, right? Now, Maxey, you can make an argument he didn't have help, which is fine, but also Maxey did not put his teammates in situations to be successful, right? Now, there were some times where he was, hunting for shots, gunning for shots. The first quarter, he'll take like 10, 11 shots. Now, you do want your best player to be aggressive. I'm not saying that he wasn't supposed to be aggressive. He was supposed to be aggressive, but also you got to put your teammates in positions for them to be aggressive as well. You have to create opportunities for your teammates as well. As the lead guard on your team, that's the responsibility that comes with it, right? Whether you're a point guard or shooting guard, that's the responsibility that comes with it, especially in today's era, right? Especially in today's game, you got to be a playmaker, you got to be a passer, you got to find ways to make your teammates very, very effective on the floor. Or else it's going to be easy for the defense to key in on you because you're the only threat, right? You're not making anybody else a threat. And there are certain players that cannot create their own shots, and then you have to facilitate the ball to them, right? A Kelly Oubre, sometimes, he can create his own shot, create something out of nothing, which, drive into the basket or whatever. But more times than not, you have to create for a Kelly Oubre. You have to create for a Caleb Martin, a KJ Martin, or whoever the players are. Now, the Sixers team was not good. Now, if you made an attempt at it and guys were just missing shots or guys were not making shots, okay, I can understand that, right? You did create the opportunity, but they just could not capitalize. That's fine. But there are certain times where he was just hunting for shots, gunning for shots, and it really hurt the Sixers a lot, right? Sometimes, and one thing that Maxey really does that really hurts the Sixers, because, for number one, he has one of the worst whistles in the NBA, which, I mean, he doesn't have the ability to draw fouls, right? That's something that he doesn't. It's not in his game, but the Jalen Brunsons, the SGAs, they have mastered the art of drawing fouls. Now, you might call them foul baiters or whatever, but they have mastered how to draw fouls. So sometimes, it might look worse. Now, they do, they flop a little bit here or there, but most of the time they're drawing the foul. That's something that Maxey doesn't know how to do yet. He doesn't have that ability to draw fouls. And there's sometimes where he wants to beat the defense with his acceleration, with his speed, agility, whatever. So what he does is that he tries to take on his primary defender. He tries to take on the defender in the gaps, right? And he's also trying to take on the defender that's rotating from the weak side corner to block the shot or to deter or alter the shot, right? Now, if you're trying to finish over all these three guys, guess what? For number one, you're not gonna be able to finish. You're not gonna be able to make the shot because you're a little guard. Now you can make shots, you can make acrobatic layups. Like we see Kyrie make shots like that, but the efficiency on those shots is not gonna be very, very good. And guess what? When three guys are rotating over to make the shot very, very difficult, guess what? There are other guys open, right? But Maxey doesn't really have that in his game yet. He doesn't really have that natural playmaking ability. And sometimes it's not really thinking about, creating for others, right? He just has tunnel vision. I'm going straight to the basket. I'm trying to finish. But guess what? You're being bumped, right? You're being bumped. You're being hacked, right? You're being like defenders are meeting you at the rim, right? Guys are hacking you, right? Because you don't have the ability to draw fouls. Like that's not in your game. Now, I'm not saying he should flop, but if you know how to draw fouls, if you have the ability to draw fouls, guess what? It makes the game very, very easy for you, right? It makes it very. Now, I'm not saying he should flop, but he should master how to draw the foul. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he should flop. I'm not condoning flopping. There are players that flop, but Maxey doesn't really Maxey's trying to get to the basket and finish, right? He's not trying to finish, with contact and one. That's not what he's trying to do. And that really hurts him, right? It really hurts him because, he doesn't really have the whistle. But if he had the ability to draw fouls, guess what? The defense has to think twice. But if you don't have the playmaking ability either, it makes the job of the defense very, very easy because they know that you're going to do only one thing, and that is try to finish over them. So if you're trying to finish over us and you don't have the whistle, guess what? We're going to take advantage of that. And I saw against the Knicks, we played the Knicks 4 times. I saw that a lot, right? Where he tries to take on Mikal Bridges as a primary defender, Josh Hart in the gaps, and then you have sometimes Karl Anthony Towns rotating from the weak side, or you have Precious Achiuwa rotating from the weak side. And they're gonna take their chances because you're not gonna draw the foul and you're not gonna find the open teammate. Right? So guys are going to do that on a consistent basis. So that's, I criticize that aspect of his game. The part where he tries to finish over a bunch of guys and not realizing that he has open guys on the perimeter. Now, these guys are not great shooters. I'm not saying they're great shooters, but sometimes you just have to take a chance, right? If you create the opportunity and they're not making shots, nobody can blame you for that, right? Nobody can blame you. But if you're doing your job, if you're being aggressive, you're putting the defense in foul trouble. You're creating open shots for your teammates. You're putting your teammates in situations to be successful, and they're not capitalizing. I think you did your job, right? Because we can go to the film and we can pinpoint times in the game where you were creating opportunities for your teammates, but they were just not making shots, right? Now, it is very, very difficult. I'm not going to lie. It is difficult when you're not playing with your two best players, right? Because with Paul George and Joel Embiid, guess what? They add additional space to the floor, and the defense cannot only focus on you, right? Because Joel Embiid is a threat. Paul George is a threat. Now, Paul George didn't really play too good last season, right? But he still is a threat if he's on the floor, right? Paul George is absolutely a threat, so you cannot just leave him wide open. Now, you might deploy a soft defensive coverage on Paul George because he's not looking to be aggressive or whatever, or he's just sitting in the corner trying to shoot threes. You can deploy a soft closeout defensive strategy or method against him. But if he's aggressive, yeah, you're definitely focusing on Paul George and Joel Embiid as well. So it will make Tyrese Maxey's job a lot more easier. But I'm glad that Maxey came out and made a statement like that because it kind of shows to me, or it kind of tells me that he is trying to prove his haters wrong next season, right? He's willing to prove us wrong next season, and I'll be glad. I think the biggest weakness in Maxey's game, which it's not a weakness, but it's not something that he's great at it, right? I think it's passing and playmaking, and I think that's something that every guard needs in their game in today's era, right? Because with the amount of traps, with the amount of blitzing and double teaming that defenses deploy to stop guards, I think if you really have that passing and playmaking in your toolbox, it makes your job even easier, right? Because you limit turnovers, right? You limit turnovers, and also you're able to create opportunities for your teammates. So that's something that I really want Maxey to develop. Now, I know it's not easy, right? Especially for a guard in year 4, year 5, or whatever it is, right? He's been playing like one way, and then you get to this high level, and that's that one thing that you need in your game. It is going to be very, very difficult, right? And guys don't develop that aspect of their games in 1 or 2 years. Like sometimes it takes a longer time to actually master that part of your game. And especially if you're a little guard, like Maxey's only 6'1", 6'2", right? 6'1", 6'2", which you're not able to see the floor as much, right? Ben Simmons could see and I hate to bring this guy up. I hate to bring up Ben Simmons, but the point that I'm trying to make is Ben Simmons, because he's bigger, right? He could see over the top of the defenses. He knows where defenders are at, where they're rotating from, who's open, who's not open. So he's able to make those reads like that, right? He's able to make those reads because he's able to see the floor. But if you're Maxey and you're not as big or taller as Ben Simmons, and defenses are overcrowding you, using their length and wingspan to disrupt your court vision, it's it makes it very, very difficult for you. Right? It makes it very, very difficult. Salute to Tune In Sports. Y'all should go check him out too. Tune In Sports. Is Quentin Grimes a restricted free? Yeah, Quentin Grimes is a restricted free agent, but the Sixers have his bird rights, right? The Sixers have Quentin Grimes' bird rights. So they can offer him a lot of money, but they don't want to go over the second apron at this point because you got 2, 3 guys. Now you got 3 guys on max contracts, so that's something that the Sixers have to be mindful of. Right? That's something that they got to be mindful of. But I think you should try your best to bring him back. Right? You should definitely bring back Quentin Grimes and then have VJ Ashcombe come off the bench. Right? That's what I think. That's just my opinion. And one of my reasons is because I want to see VJ earn his spot. Now, yeah, you were the 3rd overall pick. Right? We get it. You're the 3rd overall pick. One of the best defensive guards on the team, right? Even though he hasn't even played a single game. But you can make an argument that he's one of the best defensive guards on the team. But I want to see him earn his spots. I don't want Nick Nurse to give him anything, even though he's a 3rd overall pick. I want him to earn it. Right? I want him to earn it. The same way Jared McCain earned his spot and his playing time. I want to see VJ earn it too. Hell, Maxey even had to earn his he had to earn a spot in the rotation, but that was 2, 3, maybe 4 years ago with Doc Rivers in this. Right, with Doc Rivers in when Ben Simmons was being a female. Yeah, in a way they are, but also the Sixers don't really have room to give him what he wants. Right, he's looking for 25 million as a starting salary for a long term. So, I mean, the Sixers are not in that position to give him that right now. But he has options though. He does have options. I went over all the options that he has, but now people are telling me that the best option for him is to sign the 8.7 qualifying offer that the Sixers have for him, and then wait until next year where he's an unrestricted free agent. And as an unrestricted free agent, like you can have talks with any other team, and those teams could offer you whatever they think your value is, right? But as a restricted free agent, like there is a little bit limitations, a little bit restrictions. I mean, that's the name restricted, so it's pretty much self-explanatory. But yeah, others are also saying that he should sacrifice and then sign whatever the Sixers have for him, which is the taxpayer mid-level exception, right? And then return to the team in hopes to win a championship. But I mean, I think, bro, screw the championship, bro. Screw the championship. If I'm in that position, like I really want as much money as possible because who knows, I might not get on the team that's going to give me that contract. I mean, that opportunity to put up numbers and potentially earn a bigger contract. So, yeah, absolutely. He said the Sixers might let him play out his contract. No, yeah, Tuna Sports. Like I said, they could sign him to the qualifying offer, which is 8.7. That's a 1-year deal, right? So it's essentially him betting on himself. But again, if you bet on yourself, there could be positives and negatives, right? We've seen players bet on themselves, and it went good for them, and then we saw players that it went completely horrible for them, right? Now the players that it went bad for them. Now, Tuna Sports, you know this. Dennis Schroeder, when he didn't sign that 84 million that the Lakers tried to offer him in 2021, guess what? He had to, go to other teams and sign the vet minimum and go here. He was just being bounced around, right? Where he could have just accepted the 84 for 4 years. And then we saw Montrezl Harrell too, who went in the same direction after that Clipper season where he was 6th man of the year. He could have signed a 4-year, 98 or 90 million with the Charlotte Hornets. Now, Charlotte is not a winning situation. I get it. But he betted on himself, signed the qualifying offer that the Lakers gave him, right? He left the Clippers. Now, he did come out and say that the Clippers decided to go in a different direction, and they didn't want him on the team because of the altercation that he had with Paul George. But the point that I'm making is that he betted on himself. He went to the Lakers, And then guess what? Didn't get enough playing time, could not produce. And then he ended up getting traded to Washington, and then he ended up on Charlotte, where he could have just went to Charlotte for that $90 million that they was trying to offer him. So there are risks. Definitely. There's a lot of risks. Money gonna dry up quickly next offseason as well. Now, but next offseason, what makes it very, very unique is that he becomes an unrestricted free agent. So there's no restrictions, ain't no limitations on that. He can have discussions with any team, but you have to have a good season in order to get a big payday, right? You cannot just average 2 or 3 points next season, right? And then become a unrestricted free agent and expect the team to throw the bag at you. So that's the only thing that's it's very, very tricky, right? It's very, very tricky. And I was saying that I don't know why the Sixers or he himself hasn't signed, but I get it because this is not a very easy decision to come to, right? Because players have succeeded going that route, other players have failed going that route, right? And players that succeeded, I mean, we saw Tobias Harris, right? It worked out good for him, right? It worked out good for Tobias Harris, right? The Clippers in 2019, he's on the Clippers. The Clippers is trying to give him an extension. He declines it, and that was very smart from his dad. I think his dad is his agent, so that was very, very smart of him. He got traded to the Sixers, and that was a perfect situation for Tobias Harris because the Sixers and Jimmy Butler at odds. Jimmy Butler gets traded. Tobias Harris is an unrestricted free agent. The Sixers could not afford to let him walk for free, so they had to give him the max contract. So it worked out for him, right? But if you're Quentin Grimes, what route do you go in? Like, if you take the qualifying offer, like, what if you get hurt? Now, I'm not wishing that on him, but it could happen, right? It could happen. So that's what makes it very, very difficult for him. But me personally, I just want him to come to a decision where it benefits the Sixers and himself personally. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with it. Josh says Grimes not going to have the same number if we are not tanking this season. This is his best time to make some money. Absolutely. Because next year, if you get on the Sixers, if you take that qualifying offer, and next year the Sixers are fully healthy, you're going to be at best the fourth option, right? You're going to be the best the fourth option. Or even if you're the third option, you're not going to put up 20, right? You're not going to put up 20. So, yeah, I agree with you. This is his best opportunity to get to get the bag. Now, I mean, he's younger, right? He is young, so he has has more years to secure a bigger contract. But I mean, the thing is, what team is going to give you that opportunity to do so? Right? What team is going to give you that opportunity to do so? Because you was lucky the Sixers were tanking, right? Because if the Sixers were fully healthy, you don't like George Niang said, if Tyrese is here, you're in the corner. If Joel is here, you're in the corner. So that was so true. Shout out to Niang, bro. Grimes is better than Dennis. I mean that is true, right? That's true. But I mean, just because you're better doesn't mean that unfortunate situations can't happen, right? That could be injuries. That could be being on a stacked team, right? Now, I'm not wishing injuries on him. I would never do that. I never wish injuries on no player. So, yeah. The man just had an all-star type year. Pay him his money. Tune. After the all-star break, how many games is that? How many games did he play with the Sixers? Now, it's a small sample size to give him the bag. It absolutely is. And $25 million, like I said, the Sixers are not in the position to offer him that. Now, he can go to teams that have a ton of cap space, like the Phoenix Suns. Like I said, Phoenix got rid of KD and Bradley Beal, so they should have a ton of cap space, right? Now, they did offer Devin Booker a huge extension, so I don't know when that kicks in. But yeah, he can go to Phoenix, but Phoenix is if he could go to Phoenix, he would have been went to Phoenix because he would have signed the offer sheet. The Sixers absolutely are not going to match it. So yeah, could have went to Phoenix. But it's just not as easy as it sounds, right? It's not as easy as it sounds. Josh says recall Caleb Martin also wanted a big deal, but didn't get it, and at the end got the much smaller deal from us. Yeah, Caleb was on a very, very team-friendly contract. That's why I was a little bit pissed off when we traded him because he's on a team-friendly contract, team-friendly deal. But yeah, like you said, he was looking for bigger money. He betted on himself with the Miami Heat, right? And he experienced. And I think, my theory is still the same, and I still stand by this. I believe that he thought that Miami was going to go on another miraculous finals run, right? And that would have helped them make more money in the offseason. But unfortunately, Jimmy Butler gets hurt. Miami gets bounced out in the first round, and things didn't go as planned. Because they offered him the bag, but he just turned it down. So yeah, that's a good point, John. That's a good point. Absolutely. Yeah, he said the Nets. I mean, the Nets have cap space too, but the Nets already have a restricted free agent on their team in Cam Thomas. So we already got a player of your caliber, and Cam Thomas is a better scorer than Quentin Grimes, right? Better shot creator, better shooter, better scorer. That's not even close, right? So we have this player on our team. We got to solve this right here before we can offer you give you any offer sheet. Now Brooklyn has a ton of cap space, so Brooklyn can get them both if they really wanted to, but I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they're doing that. He says Niang will never be on the level of Grimes, so he should pick his words carefully. I mean, that's true, but what Niang was saying was facts. If Maxey was on the floor, you would be in the corner. If Embiid was on the floor, you'd be in the corner. If Paul George was on the floor, you'd be in the corner, and that's facts. That's facts. He says he averaged 22. Don't matter how many games. If PG averaged 22 and only play half a season, he still averaged 22. Yeah, that's true. That is true, but I'm not giving you the bag as a fourth option, bro. Like, bro, I got 3 max players on my team. I'm not giving you that. Hell no. No. I'm not. Like, Tuna Sports, let's be honest right here. Do you think that Quentin Grimes deserves 25 or more a year? Like, let's be real. And if you think so, my next question is, why don't the Cavs give him the offer sheet then? Because if you give him that 25 or more, the Sixers are definitely not going to match it. Now you're gonna have to give up some of your players. You have to give up some of y'all players. So, I mean, y'all don't got any good pieces that we really want, bro. I mean, Evan Mobley's a bum. Jared Allen is a bum. Now I'd take Donovan Mitchell, but Donovan Mitchell's untouchable. But yeah, smash that like button, y'all. Smash that like button. But yeah, it's very, very tricky. It's very, very tricky. But Maxey, like I was saying about Maxey, I hope Maxey proves the haters wrong. I mean, I was one of his biggest. I criticized him a lot last season, because he was hunting for a lot of shots. Now he did put up good numbers. Don't get me wrong. 25 or 26 a game. At some point, he was top 5 in scoring, right? Because he was. I mean, if you take 27 shots, you gonna put up points. But the point is that from an offensive standpoint, he didn't really help the Sixers. He didn't really help the Sixers in terms of putting his teammates in positions to be successful, like creating for them. Right? It was all about him hunting for shots, gunning for shots. And as the best player, sometimes you have to be selfish. I'm not saying you don't have to be selfish. You got to be selfish, but also you got to make the game easier on your part. Right? Get your teammates involved. And guess what? When you get them involved, it opens up the game for you. Right? It opens up the game for you because the defense won't have to only focus on you, but they have to focus on everybody else. Right? And that opens up the game for you because you get to play one-on-one. I mean, not necessarily, because certain teams, certain defenses, they wouldn't care, right? Even if you're going off and all your teammates are going off, right? They wouldn't care. They gonna still double team, trap you, blitz you, force the ball out your hands, and dare your teammates to beat you. Now, if you get them involved and they're in some sort of rhythm, guess what? It might work out. They might make shots and win the game. But if they're not in any kind of rhythm whatsoever, and you got Kelly Oubre and some of these guys that are not really scorers, right? It's gonna be difficult for you, right? And you're not gonna win games. And also his effort on defense. Now he plays the passing lanes, right? He uses his speed, his quickness in the passing lanes. He picks up a couple of steals, right? And also sometimes he's able to get some help side blocks on these little guards. Against the Knicks, he had a lot of, I mean, not a lot, but a couple help side blocks on Jalen Brunson and Miles McBride, right? On those guards like that. But I want to see consistent effort defensively. Right now, we know he's a little guard. He can't really stop players in front of him like that. I get it. Bigger players that try to post him up. I get it. But also, why would Nick Nurse, if you're the coach, why would you put him in that spot to guard bigger players? Like we saw from last season, Maxey in the post, guarding Giannis, guarding Scotty Barnes, guarding some of these bigger guards, or LaMelo Ball and all these guys. Like Maxey don't have to be in that position, right? So also the coach got to make it easier on Maxey too. But Maxey has to make it. He has to be the vocal leader on the floor as a lead guard, right? As a lead guard, you got the ball in your hands. You dictate where the ball goes. So you have to, you got to be a vocal leader, and also you got to be a facilitator and or playmaker, right? You have to do that. TuneIn Sports says I'll take Grimes over Cam Thomas. He does nothing but score, in my opinion. Yeah, that's true. That's also something that Cam Thomas is also working on, which is passing and playmaking. Right, he's trying to develop that aspect of his game. But as a scorer, Cam Thomas is a better scorer than on Quentin Grimes. That's facts. But Quentin Grimes does more. I agree. He does more. Like he can play defense. He could play make a little better. Right, he does more. Right, and he's a bigger. Is he a bigger player? I think he's about what 6'4", and Cam Thomas is 6'3". But yeah, Cam Thomas is a good. Yeah, all he does is score. But I mean, Brooklyn is not trying to win right now. I mean, they got all the draft picks. They're trying to rebuild. So I don't think you need a Quentin Grimes. So yeah, okay, trade Paul George for who? It's not that easy, bro. It's not that easy. And if they could have traded him, they would have been traded. But yeah, you made your bed, you lay in it. Nah, I'm not. Breezy goes overboard with it. Like, nah, that's not what I'm trying to do, bro. Yeah, I ain't doing that. But yeah, he's a better scorer. Now Quentin Grimes, the best position for him to be in is on a contending team, right? A contender, he could be the starting two guard or even coming off the bench. Like that's the role that he's supposed to be in. Now Brooklyn is not trying to win, like I said. And Cam Thomas could also be on a contender, right? Coming off the bench, being a six man, like that could be his role, right? That could be his role. But yeah, Quentin Grimes does more, but Cam Thomas is a better scorer. But yeah, yeah. As far as Maxey goes, yeah, that's where I'm at with it. The passing and playmaking has to improve. Like if he comes out next year and is averaging 30 points, like you're not really proving anything though. You're really not, because you've proven that you could. I mean, you've never averaged 30 in a season, but I saw him average 30 in the playoffs with Joel Embiid, right? So I've seen that from him. What I want to see is his playmaking ability and his passing ability improve. That's what I want to see from Tyrese Maxey, because I think that's the next step, and that's something that I'm going to talk about maybe tomorrow or Wednesday. But I think that's the next jump that he has to take. Yeah, he doesn't. He don't need to. Yeah, I agree. I agree. He don't need to. I think the passing and playmaking is where he has to improve on or improve in. I think last year, what did he average? 6 assists. But on the team as the Sixers, you gotta help facilitate more, right? Because the Sixers don't really have facilitators like that. And if you're the lead guard, like I said, every guard, matter of fact, you have to have passing and playmaking in your toolbox. That's 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 a must. You must have that, right? You must have it. Because in this era, with the way defenses are complex, if you don't have that aspect, if you don't have that in your toolbox, like it makes it very, very difficult for you. Yeah, 6 assists, okay. Ball was in his hands for the most part. You're gonna pick up some assists. Right. Sometimes, driving to the basket out of control, you might just dish it off to somebody, they make a shot. Okay, that's not really playmaking though. They bailed you out. Right. They bailed you out. Right. They bailed him out. So, and if we're talking about passers and playmakers in the game, from the guard position, Maxey will probably be at the bottom of the list. Right? Maxey will probably be at the bottom of the list. Now I'm not shitting on Maxey though. I'm not, but I'm just stating the real. Like what happened last season. His passing and playmaking wasn't on par. And what could you check his assist to turnover ratio? Because there were certain games where he was turning the ball over a lot. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What's going on? Yeah, there were certain games where he was just like turning the ball over a lot. So, but yeah, that's the next leap for him in my opinion. Got to make that jump. But yeah, that's all I got for this live stream. Quentin Grimes, hopefully he could, come to a deal with the Sixers next, by tomorrow or next, very, very soon, because we got to get this team. I mean, there's still time, but you want to know what your team looks like moving forward. So yeah, he says y'all got PG. He does it all. You talking about playmaking? Yeah, but in certain moments or in certain times of the game, you don't want the ball to be in PG's hands, trying to dictate or trying to make a play. Like bringing the ball up the court, that should be Maxey's job. He's the lead guard, right? That's what you're paying him for, right? Now, Paul George is now, yeah, I agree. Paul George is a better playmaker than Maxey, right? Which is very, very terrible. So terrible. Wait, hold on. There's something going on with my screen. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. Sorry about that, y'all. Sorry about that. Damn, that was. I don't know what was going on with my computer. That's crazy. But yeah, to just bring this to a whole. Let me just end this right quick. Quentin Grimes, hopefully he can resign with the Sixers, return to the Sixers, return to the team, and be the starting two guard. And then now, Tuna Sports. I don't know if you still here, but yeah, Mike. I fixed it. I got it fixed, bro. We good. We good. That was crazy, but appreciate y'all for bearing with me. Um, but yeah, hopefully Quentin Grimes can come to terms with the Sixers, and hopefully Maxey can also prove everybody wrong, including myself, right? Because I criticized him. I don't shy away from it. I know other people that criticized him too. Um, bigger Sixer channels on YouTube, PHLY Sports. There's a couple guys on there that criticized him. Other guys also criticized him. I criticized him. I don't run away from it. So, hopefully he can prove us all wrong because we want Maxey to flourish. We want Maxey to succeed. So, if it goes well in his favor, guess what? As Sixer fans, we're also happy, and he could also potentially get himself into the top 5 guards in the game. Now, it's very, very tough and very, very difficult to crack. But if he gets that aspect of his game, like if he gets it right, I think he'll definitely be. He can have an argument to be in a top 5 guard in the league. So, that's where I'm at with it. So, yeah, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. Salute to one Mike. Sorry about the sorry about earlier on, but it is what it is. My guy tuning sports. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Ja was in here too. Shout out to him. My guy Joseph was in the building too. So y'all should definitely check out Joseph. Check out his channel and check out Tuning Sports too. But appreciate y'all for tuning in. I'm gonna catch you guys on the next one. Peace.